Okay. Oh, there we go. Well, hi, Dunya. How are you? I finally get to catch you. Glad you're here. Oh, there's Becky. And let me get it right. Gilani, and Cheryl. Well, hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I'm a little late this week. It's been, oh my, it's been a week. Oh, you're ready for all night stitching, Dunya? Good for you. Or Dunja. I'll get it right one of these days. Yes, I'm doing great. Hi, Melly. Yes, I love this pattern. It's been really fun, really, really fun to stitch. A little bit of confetti hell at the moment. Hi, Sharona. Oh, you guys get to be my experiment. I hope uh, I hope the camera I have focused on my stitching is showing up good enough for you guys. If somebody could let me know. I bought a new camera rather than using my iPhone all the time. And last night, hi Fran. Last night I thought I had everything set up, and I thought I had it set up that I could stitch the way I normally stitch and not have to have it crooked or on an angle for you guys, and turned everything off because it was getting late and I didn't want to go on that late. And today I opened this all up, or opened up my Ecamm Live, which is what I use to broadcast with, and I had to redo everything. The Zoom and all of it. Oh, good. Thank you, Gilani. Oh, I will get these names right one of these days. um, so I hope you guys can see it okay. I wanted a camera rather than using my phone all the time, because half the time I forget to put it on airplane mode, and oh well, we all know the drill. And I didn't want to have to be, fussing with that all the time. I wanted a camera that I could zoom in really close with. So over the weekend, I ordered one, and it came on Monday. And I opened it up and tried to set it up. And every time I would zoom in, all it would do was get fuzzy. Um, so I thought, well, I can't have this. I can't have a camera that's going to get fuzzy on me all the time. So back to Amazon it went. and I ordered another one, a different kind. And I honestly can't tell you what the brands were anymore because I really don't remember. Um, so I ordered another one. That came on Wednesday, set that one up, and it did the same, pardon my French, damn thing. Every time I zoomed in, fuzzy it gets. Okay. Sent that one back, ordered this one, which came real late yesterday, and finally, third time was a charm. Ah, thanks. Oh, Dunja, thank you, thank you. I This one I think is going to do what I need it to do. Fran, I go back and forth between cross countrying within the diagonal and um, doing it stitch by stitch, row by row. I am going like I am, instead of going stitch by stitch by stitch by stitch, I am going by color so that if it's, I don't know, 372, I'll stitch all of the 372. Hi, Vicky. Um, and then I'll stitch all of the next. So I'll stitch the all of that color in a row and then park it in the next row. Um, but as far as doing cross country within the whole diagonal, yeah, I get lost too. I just get too, I get too messed up. So I can't do that. It just doesn't work for me. So I'm back to this way. And doing cross country in general, no, that doesn't work either. Not for me. So I guess I'm gonna be a diagonal row by row girl for forever. Actually, I want to do that one last. Um, and as you can tell, I still try and look at the stitches. I'm really kind of back to the way I stitched in the very beginning. Um, and when I first started diagonal stitching, this is what I did. I stitched all of one color in a row and then the next color in the row and went just row by row. So I guess you could say I've kind of gone full circle with that. And oh, good, it doesn't look like I'm losing focus as I stitch. So you guys get to be my guinea pig. Oh, hi Nina. I'm glad you finally got here too. I'm really, like I said, I'm really late today. I just had to do a lot of fussing to kind of get things set up. And then I'm doing this one on 28 count, so it's a little bit fussier to stitch. Jillian, yes, I am doing challenges. I'm doing the ones in full coverage fanatics. Um, I'm doing the 20 and 20. And I'm going to try and do, operative word here is try, and do all 5 tiers in the national parks. Oh, you're going 40 stitches wide. Oh. Jillian, do you have a lot of thread carries I mean, is there a lot of spots where you're carrying thread long distance? That's what I didn't like about the 20. Oh, hi, Pam. Misty, hi. I'm going back here to see. Hi, Jen. Maybe I better start doing these later in the day more often. I'm getting to see more people than or different people from what I usually catch when I do in the morning. So it's a good thing I think to aw, Pascal, sorry you have to go. Aw. But I'm glad you stopped by. And then I jump around within this row. If you hear a little bit of humming, that's my computer. It seems to be getting warm. You have trouble, Maria, you have trouble when you start in a corner? What what isn't going right for you? What are what seems to be the trouble? And I will certainly try and help you. Let me see here. Let me mark this before I lose my spot. Um, the name of the pattern, Melly, is Log Cabin Home. I think it's by Davidson. And I just saw today, and I debated. I'm not that far on this one. I'm really only have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I'm really only on the eighth diagonal. And I just saw this morning that they put out a mini for this one. And I really debated, do I want to switch to the mini? But I'm afraid it will lose the I'm afraid it will lose some of the features that you won't, like it will blur up and pixel more. Maria, what's not stitching right? Are your stitches not laying right? Oh, Jillian, I didn't hear about the quirky Canadian town names. What group is that one in? When you start in a pattern, it's not going big. So you must be doing something wrong with core. I don't, hmm. Maria, do you come in the virtual stitching group? That would be a good idea. Yeah, because I'm not really understanding. It would be better if I could see it. So join join the Zoom virtual stitching group and let me know when you log in to Zoom sometime, and that way we can talk face to face and you could actually show me what you're having a problem with, and I can better help you if I can see it. Oh, are you just on you're just on YouTube and not on Facebook? If you, I think you can message me on YouTube. If you message me on YouTube, I'll walk you through getting on Zoom, and we can get together that way, and I can see what your problem is and be able to help you better. Because I'm really having a hard time understanding. Okay, send me a private message here on YouTube, and I will get back to you with the next step of getting together so I can actually see what your issue is. And by the way, I will do that for for anybody if it's something that I need to see that you're having trouble with. Um, we can meet up on Zoom where we can talk in real time, face to face, and you can actually, like, you use the camera in your phone or your laptop or your iPad or tablet, whatever you're using, and you can hold up your piece or whatever it is you're having trouble with, that I can see it, and then I can better help you and explain maybe a way to fix it or work around it or something. Hi, Aisha. The name of the pattern is Log Cabin Home. It's a heaven and earth design. I'm going to try and keep stitching here too. I'm in a place that's a lot of confetti. It's this it's the tree in the upper right. It's the top of that big tree in the upper right hand corner. And it's a little crazy in there. However, once I get over past the log cabin and I think the whole thing's gonna get a lot crazy. But I was thinking I was thinking about switching to the mini, but I'm just so afraid that it's gonna. Hi, Rose. Nina, I just get on Zoom whenever the whenever the mood strikes me. But if you have something specific, message me either here, Facebook, or Instagram, and I can meet you there. You know, I'm pretty flexible with time since I'm retired. In fact, what's today? Friday. I probably should go on Zoom because I haven't been on this week. So I usually go in the evening, but there's nothing that says I can't go during the day. I just get involved in stitching. I get involved in stitching and then don't even think about it. Oh, basic nail stamping. You're doing a pick to pack conversion project? Good for you. I never tried that. I never went there and and made a pattern. Do they get nice? Because the thought has often crossed my mind that I would kind of like to stitch my grandkids. Would that not be fun? I would really kind of like to find one of their pictures of them together and stitch that. Oh, see, this is why I don't like to use my phone. There we go. Oh, Misty, yes, there's people that go in and don't talk. You can just come in and sit with us. I mean, you don't even have to turn your video on or your microphone on if you don't want to. You can just come in and be there and listen and, jump in if you feel like it. And everybody's welcome. And anybody that's in the for love. Hi, Jen. Anybody that's in the for love of diagonal cross stitching group and then you can go into the Zoom virtual stitching room group, and that's where you get the the code to enter to get into the stitching room. But if you're not on Facebook and you want that code, you can always message me, um, either here on either here on YouTube or on Facebook. Um, and I will, as long as I can verify that you're a stitcher, I will send you the code, a stitcher, and that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way I'll send you the code. So just let me know. But yeah, Misty, you don't have to speak. You don't even have to let us see you. You can be a total lurker if you want to. Oh, oh, okay. Yes, I have to check um, Pam's channel out for that information because I watch her videos like every time she puts one out. I just haven't gone back and watched older ones. Oh, you can do AB. You can use Zoom on your cell phone or your tablet or your computer. Works on all of them. I've done it. I've used my phone. I've used my iPad. I've used my Android device. I've used my laptop. So anything will work. You just, Hi Jackie, you just have to download the app and you can get it in the App Store or the Play Store. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. Um, and going into Zoom doesn't cost you anything. There were a bunch of us that all chipped in, and I paid for a year, so we have that site is set up for a year. It will be an annual fee, so closer to the end of this year, I'll start collecting again for 2021, and then we'll pay it for another year. So it really, it really is a fun place. I mean, I had a blast. Okay, what did I do here? One, two. Oh, I have to cross that stitch before I can park it somewhere. Oh, woe is me. That's what happens when you stop and talk. Then you kind of lose yourself. Okay. There. Hi, Mary. Yes, AB, you should try it. We really had a good time. Um, I must confess, I don't think I've been on since New Year's Eve. And New Year's Eve, there were a whole bunch of us in there, and we really had a good time. I think we had like I want to say 18 or 19 people. Was that what it was, Jenny? Wasn't it 18 people we had there on New Year's Eve? So I'm a slacker. I really need to get back in there again. But like I said, if you have questions or, you know, um, you're having trouble with something, if you come in there in the stitching room, then all of us can help you, and you can hold like your piece up to the camera so that we can see what your problem is, and then you can get input from many people on like what the issue could be or how to fix what you're doing. Oh, hi, Judy. Good to see you too. Okay. I got two more rows and then I'm kind of past this crazy confetti stuff. And from what I can see, it looks like this isn't blurring up for you guys, that the picture's staying clear even with my hand moving in and out. And I don't know, I don't remember if I said, I'm stitching this on 28 count easy guide, the Zweigert, the stuff with the gray lines. Oh, Liv, bless you. Oh, that has to be a mess. Kelly, Patreon, no, does not help pay for Zoom expenses. Once a year, I will just collect for that. And seriously, for as many members that we have in the virtual stitching room group or the Zoom virtual stitching room group, if every member would just donate $1 or even $2, we would have we would have enough to pay for pay for another year. So if everybody would just donate $1, then that way it's no hardship for any one person, um, and everybody would use it. The Patreon funds they help to pay for my annual subscription to the software that I have to use to go live. They also help to pay for the camera that I just bought and the computer that I had to just buy to be able to do all of this um, live. That's what those funds are for. So it's no one is has to feel obligated. And it's just, and I think I say it on Patreon. It's just for I'm using it just for donations. Um, so you don't have to feel obligated. Although anybody that does donate, it certainly is more than appreciated. Um, I will put, Jackie, I will put a link. Are you asking about the Patreon or are you asking about the Zoom? Zoom, we won't donate again until December because I think we're paid up through December of this year. So in December, I'll have to pay it again. So at that point, what I will do is like I did this time, I made oh, what the world was called. I did it through PayPal. Um, oh, what was it called? Let me look. Huh, why am I not seeing it? Oh, it's called a money pool. Yeah, it's called a money pool. Um, and then what happens is you donate, it shows up in my PayPal account, but it is kept separate. So when we would reach the amount that would be needed to pay, then I shut it off and close the donations, and then I transfer that into my PayPal account, and then I use that to pay for the next year. So that's how I worked it this year. Oh, time to stitch. Have you experienced this also, or can I just go left to right? Okay, I got to go back here and look at what you're talking about. Time to stitch. Let's see if I can go up. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, sorry, I missed saying goodbye to you, Jillian. Sue, I'm trying to find, or can you just go left to right? I'm not sure what your question is there, Sue. Ha ha ha, Jenny, did you start your golden kite yet? Ah, good question. You're brave. You are just so, so brave. Oh, here we go again. Okay. And this, if anybody notices issues with the camera that's focused on the stitching, let me know. Because I said it earlier before, pardon me, before some of you were here. This is a new camera, and you guys are my guinea pigs to see how it works or if there's any issues with it. So this is my test run. So I hope it's coming through okay and not getting blurry or any of that good stuff. Oh, January 15th, Jenny. Well, that's soon here. What is it today? I don't even know the date. Is that not terrible or what? The 10th, 5 more days. And we want to see that start. Yeah, I know, Natasha, you're looking at it sideways. Um, I had a heck of a time trying to find a way to set this up. And for me to set it up that you can see it straight on and I could stitch with it straight on, I have to have this behind me, and I have to play around with it more. Um, I have to play around with it a little more to see if I can find a way to set it up in back of me and this. I have it on one of these boom things, a long arm that goes on my tripod, and I would have to have that coming over my shoulder. So, like I said, I got to play around with it. Oh, Sue, I think you can do whatever you want. I don't necessarily start on one side or the other side. I look at the colors within that row, and I will stitch the least colors first. Or if there's a color, if one color is, say, on this side, and then 4 or 5 stitches away is that color again, I will stitch those colors that are going to have thread carries first. And then the one with the most colors is what I will stitch last, so that you're hiding any of those thread carries. So you can mix it up however you want. I mean, you can see up close what my stitching looks like. I don't know that I necessarily see any what I would call bumps. Um, I think my stitches look pretty good for the most part. I mean, sometimes they look a little bumpy, but I think what happens is there are times if you don't, like when your thread starts twisting on itself, the actual twist of the thread starts to come undone, and you might get, like right here, there's one that looks a little, say, fluffier than the others. And that's because the thread is a little bit more untwisted. So as long as you're retwisting your thread so that A, it doesn't curl on itself, and B, you can keep the thread itself from losing its twist, you should be fine. Oh, are you doing the fractal bookmark that Jan Hicks did? That is gorgeous. Oh, so gorgeous. And yes, that is another one of those confetti hell pieces. Oh, I yeah, I and if it's easier for you to always go, say, one direction, like always go right to left or always go left to right, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, just do what works for you. You know, everybody everybody kind of has to find their way. Oh, well, I'm glad glad you felt you had to ask me. I'm not an expert by any means. I mean, I gladly share my experiences and my, what I do know. Um, and if you find, if I can share some things with you that are going to help you, that makes me happy. Oops, bumped. Um, I mean, but the bottom line is everybody needs to experiment and find what works for them, because what works for me might not work for you, but maybe you can take something that I do and modify it to something that's going to work for you. Oh, Kelly, you are doing that fractal bookmark. That thing is so gorgeous. Oh, and I was so happy for Jan that she got it done by the end of the year. I know she wanted to do that, get that done before she started Farewell to Anger, I think it is, which is absolutely another beautiful piece. Ah, Sue, that's right. There are no stitching police. Don't let anybody kid you. They are not there. People might want you to think they're stitching police, but there are not any stitching police. So have no fear. The whole bottom line is do what makes you happy. And especially with these full coverage pieces and these heaven and earth designs, honest to Pete, you're going to be working them for a long, long time. I was just looking yesterday. When I actually started Stitcher's Retreat, it was November of 2016. So now this is the third year for it. However, I will say that I took that year off to do the Christmas stockings for my grandkids. But I have, by my rough calculations, I have a good 2 more years on that. So with the amount of time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears that you put into these pieces, you got to do what makes you happy. You got to find the fabric and the count that you can live with for a long, long time, because it's going to be a long, long time. You got to find the design, the pattern that's going to hold your interest and spark your interest, that every time you pick it up you're going to go, yeah, I really want to stitch this. I really want this to hang in my house. I really love this picture. Because if you're missing some of those things, I really love this picture, it's fabulous, I want it to hang in my house, but you pick it up and you don't like the fabric, you're not going to work on it. Or if you're stitching it in a method that you don't like, you're not going to work on it. Hi, Leah. I said this in some of my other YouTube videos. Stitcher's Retreat for me has been one big giant experiment. Oh, there they are. No wonder I can't see. You can't tell it from the front. When you look at the front, you have no idea. But when you look at the back, you can see all the different techniques that I used in stitching it until I found something that's working for me. You know, when I first started that piece, have been, always was a cross country stitcher. Always. That's the only way I ever stitched. I didn't I didn't know anything about parking until I joined the Heaven and Earth group and started stitching those. I didn't know anything. Um, so I was stitching cross country, and it was like, oh my God, going back and filling in all these stitches is craziness. Well, then I saw I can't remember if I watched Blitz Stitch first or after, but I went on Scarlet Quint's website and I looked at how their recommendations for how they stitch. And it was similar. I mean, it was the same principles that get applied in this, of always coming up in an empty hole, or a hole that only has one thread in it, going down in your holes that have multiple threads in them. So at that point, I tried doing that in columns. 10 stitch wide and just going down each column. In fact, I started going down the column and then going up the column and then down the next one and up the next one. I had to kind of rethink every time I switched between the top to bottom versus the bottom and top, because that always altered where you parked your thread. At least for me it did. So I had to be careful there. Then I watched Brian Blitz Stitch, and he was doing diagonal, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Because I didn't want to get the lines. I didn't want to get the page lines. I didn't want to get the column lines. And I don't say this to be offensive, but I've seen some pieces that have column lines that are just make me want to cry. And I didn't want that to happen to mine, and even in the group we have a gal that was so willingly shared her piece, which is just a absolute wonderful example of, she had terrible column lines and then switched to diagonal stitching, and there's not a line to behold. I hope she can save the piece. I truly, truly do. It's wonderful, I'm glad she switched. I hope that she can salvage that piece. I know she's washed it many times and pressed it, and the lines still keep coming back. So I'd be anxious to hear when she's done what actually happens. So I couldn't wrap my head around the way Brian does his diagonal stitching, because he stitches his rows vertically, and my head can't think vertically. My head only goes horizontal. So I kind of poo-pooed that idea and kept on going with the columns for a while. And then my friend Barb, yes, Barb, I'm talking about you once again. And she started stitching the way Brian does. So I tried to watch her, and I could grasp the concept. I still couldn't grasp the vertical business. And then there was the competition that started, because I said, No, ain't Barb going to be doing something that I can't do? So, of course, then the inspiration was there to give it more of a try. And then I decided I'm going to do it horizontally, like my rows horizontally, the way I normally stitch and work down a diagonal. So that's really kind of how we got to where we are today. And with that, I thought, okay, Brian has his videos out there of doing it his way. And I would hear people saying, "Oh, again, they couldn't wrap their heads around it either." So I thought, okay, let's post my video and offer an alternative. And well, we all know the rest is history. And here we are. How many YouTube videos later, and how many subscribers later, and I have you guys all to thank for that. But that's the history of how we got to where we are. Oh, oh, Kelly, you're too kind. And really, it's one stitch at a time. You know, it's just one stitch, one color, and find what works. Even in diagonal stitching, I've switched. How many pieces did I start in the upper left hand corner, and I stitched my diagonal from top right to bottom left. And that's the way all my beginning videos have shown it, top right to bottom left. Um, then I started one in the bottom left. I didn't like that either. Then Barb always starts hers in the bottom right. So I thought, oh, well, I'm going to try that way. But the way I stitch and the way I cross my X's, which is opposite of the way Barb does, I had to always work from the bottom up. If I had to start my diagonal in the bottom and work to the top of it, as opposed to working sorry about that, top down, which is the way I prefer to stitch. Barb crosses her stitches opposite, so it works great for her. So now, as you see, I'm in the top right. And really, this is where I like it the best. So this is where I will stay. And that's why when you look at my Stitcher's Retreat, it looks so it looks so bizarre, because you got diagonals that went from the top right to the bottom left. You got the first couple rows of pages that are all completed. Now you got diagonals going from the top left to the bottom right. You know what? It was an experiment. The whole piece is an experiment. You can't tell it from the front. So experiment away and find what works for you. Because, like I said, what works for you or what works for me might not necessarily work for you. I'm trying to read here and stitch. Oh, well, I'm glad my videos helped you. I really am, because that's why I do them. That's why I do them. And if it wouldn't be for all the feedback I get from you guys, which is absolutely fantastic, I wouldn't do these anymore. But because there's so much positive response, and I enjoy doing them. And I enjoy these live ones a whole lot better than just, just sitting here trying to think up things to say and talk to myself. At least this way, I feel like I'm talking to other people. Oh, Maria, I will keep doing the videos. And you're in the UK. Oh, wow. I get people from all over. That's the neat part of this. That is just so much fun to have people from all over the world. But like I said, just experiment. Ask your questions. Experiment. If something isn't working for you, try something else. If stitching stitch by stitch within your row isn't working for you, then try doing all of that color within the row. If that isn't working, try doing all that color within the diagonal. If and some people start at the top of their diagonal and take that color and work it the whole length, or until the thread runs out, or until there's no more of that color. Just play around and see what works. Heck, I've even seen people that start in the middle with their diagonals, and then they really do have the option of going 4 different ways. I mean, they could do a diagonal. If they do a square in the middle, they could make a diagonal that goes upper right to lower left. They could do a diagonal from upper left to lower right. They could start a diagonal at the bottom and work bottom left to upper right, or any way they want to around that square. So you really just got to play around. And don't be afraid to try different things. Because the front of your piece isn't going to change. You're not going to be able to tell except to look at the back of which way you stitched. Uh-oh. I hear the garbage disposal running. My husband must be, what time is it? 3 o'clock. My husband must be thinking about supper. And for those that don't use it, Pattern Keeper, my friends, is a game changer. A total game changer. It is the most awesome app out there. And I think a lot of you probably use it. I don't know. I'm so spoiled now. I don't think I could stitch without it, to be honest. Oh wow, one more row and I'm out of this confetti business. Oh, hallelujah. that. See, now that is the other nice thing about diagonal stitching. You have that pin stitches. You have that area that is confetti that will drive you up a wall, and then the next thing you know, you're in a place that not so much confetti. Maybe I'm getting to a place where I'm only going to maybe have 3 colors as opposed to all of this. So this is going to drop down to 3, which is going to make me a very, very happy camper. And for those that are, whoops, here we go. For those that are wondering, yes, I am doing a pin stitch on 28 count. Now, I will tell you what I'm doing though. Normally I do my pin stitch pretty close to the color, to the last stitch of that color. But because this is 28 count, and these threads are a lot harder to split than 25 count, what I'm kind of doing is, like the top thread, I'm splitting that and coming up and then going to the other side of that. Like I'm splitting it on this side of the upright, and then I'm going down on the other side of the upright thread, and I'm doing that twice. And I'm leaving that little tail, like I made a thread carry, and then what this stitch is doing is just anchoring that thread carry so that it doesn't come out, so that I'm stitching over the threads. So really it's kind of like using an away thread, but not leaving the tail of it. Oh, Jennifer, you bought a you found Pattern Keeper and bought a Heaven and Earth just so you could use Pattern Keeper. Oh, that's good. Oh, it is. It is the best app ever. I am so in love with it. I can't I can't brag it up enough, because it is just a lifesaver. And people say they stitch faster with Pattern Keeper, and I think that answer is true. Now, what I will say is I don't think your actual physical stitching is faster. I think whatever your speed is, that's your speed, and that's how you stitch. But what is faster in my mind is the fact that, come back here, I lost my needle, there we go, is the fact that I can highlight a symbol and it automatically right away tells me what color that is, so that I don't have to go to the list of symbols in floss and search through that. Normally what I would search through that would be like 3-4 times until I found the symbol, because you can never find the one you're looking for. and then till you pull the thread and whatever. So that uses a lot of your time just searching for that symbol. Where here, you don't have to do that. I don't have to pick up a highlighter and mark off stitches. I can just, highlight them. It tells me the color number. When I have it stitched, I just switch to the marker or highlight it again, and bam, I'm done. On to the next color. I don't have to sit with my paper pattern and go through and, I think one of my other videos I told you how I used to stitch years ago when it was a full coverage pattern. I used to break it down into sections, maybe 30 by 30 sections or 40 by 40 sections. And within that section, I'd take a highlighter and I'd highlight all the 310, whatever symbol that was. I highlight that in one color and then I'd stitch it. When I had that stitched, I'd take a different color highlighter and I'd highlight another color and I'd stitch it. And I would do that. I had a gazillion different color highlighters. And I would do that until I got down to the very last colors. And by that point, you had so much highlighted that the remaining ones kind of stood out, that they didn't need to be highlighted, that you could see what they were and where they were going. But when you think about all the time it took to search through all of that, even though it was a small area, a 40 by 40 area, how much time did it take to go highlight all those colors? Where here, you don't have to do that. You just tap on the symbol and bam, it's all highlighted. You know what color it is. You pick up your needle, you pick up your thread, and you stitch away. So in that respect, that's where the time saving, in my mind, the time saving comes in. Yeah, I agree with you, Bonnie. Hi, welcome. I'm glad you're here, and I do totally agree with you. I wish more patterns would be compatible with Pattern Keeper. And I think she's working towards that. I do. And, it's going to take time. A lot of, we have to realize and understand, in all reality, the Pattern Keeper is still in its infancy. It's still a beta program. It's not even the full-blown thing yet. And we're all just fortunate enough to that she released it as early as she did, and we can start using it. And that's to her advantage also, because it helps her to find out what glitches there are and to work out those glitches and get it all figured out before she puts a final product out there. And we're all just fortunate, happy little campers. But I think people forget that. I think some people forget that this is just a beta program. No, Bonnie, you're not the only one who wears glasses like this. I do this all the time. If I'm not sitting where I have my Dazer magnifier, or I just bought a, oh my goodness, I forget what brand it is, for in my living room. It's one that you bend down. It's like a Mighty Bright, but it's not a Mighty Bright. A Craft Bright, or I can't remember the name of it, but I just bought one of those for the living room. If I'm not near one of those, yeah, I have 4 eyes, or should I say six eyes. Sure, Fran. I'm probably at a point where I'm going to do another pin stitch in just a few. I just did one. So I'll be doing another one shortly because I'm at the end of confetti hell. Gail, I'm honestly not sure. I really, I really don't know if they're available for Pattern Keeper. Um, if you join the, oh, what's the name of it? Stitching with Pattern Keeper group on Facebook. And then there's another board, a Trello board, where she lists patterns that are compatible and where you can put in suggestions. You would be able to find it there. I'm pretty sure. And I think the group is Stitching with Pattern Keeper. Um, that would be the place. That would be the place to ask that because I really don't know. I know that of course Heaven and Earth designs are compatible. Um, I've been able to put long dog samplers in. Um, Cross stitch collectibles is compatible, although not all of them. It's probably if it's an older one that it might not necessarily be. Um, I can tell you, Stitching Jewels is doing Rainy Waterloo Place, and I have that one, and that one does not go into Pattern Keeper. However, I do have New York Street Scene, and that one does go in. So some work, some don't work. Um, Artisy Designs, I believe, is compatible. Um, I want to say Gecko Rouge, but I'm not sure. And those are the ones that I'm definitely sure of. But there's probably more. And the best thing I can say is try it. You know, if you have something that you'd like in Pattern Keeper to stitch, just try putting it in. And it may work, it may not. Some you can will work, but you're going to get a yellow exclamation point after it is saved into Pattern Keeper, which means that there's probably some floss numbers missing. So you can go in and just add those numbers, and then you'll be fine. You know, if you get the big black X, they're not going to work at all. But if you get an exclamation point, usually you can go in, and it just is probably a matter of putting some floss numbers in. Golden Kite, I think, is another one that it takes. And it does do the blended colors, but you might have to enter some of that again. You might have to put in some of those numbers. But the chart then will work after that's done. At least that's my understanding at this point. So I would say just try them and see what happens. Oh, this is my last row of wackiness. Okay, now I have to end this thread, Fran. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, and hopefully you can see this because I think I have you zoomed in as much as I can. Yeah, I do. Let me bring me back. So what I'm going to do is, my last stitch was here, up here. Okay, can you see my needle wiggle? All right, so I'm going to drop down so that I have a thread carry on the back. And in this stitch, I'm going to split the fabric thread here and come up. And then there's the horizontal thread that goes under that. I'm going to go the other side of that horizontal thread and go down. Okay? I hope you can see this good enough. All right. So instead of splitting like that you're going through both threads to do your pin stitch, I'm just splitting that top thread on both sides of either a horizontal or a vertical. And then I'm going to do that one more time because really getting a backache. What I'm doing is just anchoring the end of the thread so that I don't have all those waste thread tails. Okay, so I'm just going to do that again, and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to pull it really tight and I'm going to clip it off. You know, see here I did waste thread, so I got all those tails, where here I just have that little bump. And let me see if I can, let me flip this over for you. Let me undo this light. Okay. Whoops. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so let me flip this around. All right. So here, let me find you. Whoop. Where'd we go? Yo. Closer. There. Okay. So here you can see it's just, I just carried the thread down and that's all going to get stitched over. Okay? Makes sense? Yes, and this looks really gnarly in here because this was confetti hell. So it does look pretty gnarly there. However, it could be worse. So see, you just take your thread down a couple rows and do that little tacking type stitch. And here I did some to the side, so they'll get stitched over when I come down this next column. And that's all I'm doing anymore. I just, having all those tails hanging around just made me a little crazy. So I hope that made sense, Fran. Okay, now did I lose my focus on my camera? Okay, maybe I have to do this. Maybe I have to bounce you in and up. Hello? There we go. Oh, I'll get the hang of this camera yet. So we should be back to our camera happy place. Oh, you're welcome, Fran. Oh, Janice, that's interesting. A timer of some sort. That's quite interesting because that would be very interesting to know just how much time you spend stitching. Yeah, I would, because I really would be curious how much time. Ooh, I'm back in focus. Yeah, ha 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 ha. Okay, guys, I'm kind of liking this camera. I'm kind of glad I bought it. Yeah, yeah, Fran, them waist threads hanging make me crazy. All of these hanging is quite enough. And then, you know, when you have these little guys here, that just makes me a little nuts. And I'm soon at a point now where I can cut those off. As soon as I get down about 10 more rows, those are going to fly. But again, that was just an experiment to see what was going to work. It seems to hold fine until I get them stitched over. So really, it's no, I don't think it's a big deal. And is anything going to come undone? Probably not. So again, do what works for you. Find find what works for you. Everybody watches, I'm sure everybody watches lots of YouTube videos, and that's awesome. And what you do is take a little bit from one person, a little bit from another person, and find your way. Experiment. How many of you, because I just set up a traveler's notebook to do this. I should have brought it over here so I could show you, but I didn't, so I'll bring it next time. How many of you keep track of like your works in progress and your finishes and all of that good stuff? Or how many days you stitched on whatever project, and do you guys track that kind of stuff? I decided this year, especially since I decided to do these challenges, that it would be fun to track things. So I bought, I guess you would call it like a faux Midori, and I made notebooks for in it. And in one notebook, I put like all the projects I have started, and then I left a place to put my finishes for 2020. Oh, hi, Brandy. Glad you're here. And then I made a book that has just challenges in it so that I could keep track of where I was at in each challenge, because the 20 and 20 for full coverage fanatics, you can only use one project. And that's fine. And for that, I think I said I'm using Stitcher's Retreat. Okay. So I made place to track that. Then I'm doing the national parks, and those are 4,000 stitches for each park, but you can use a different project for each park. So I made pages that show each, and I planned on trying to do the 5 tiers. So I made page, I'll add the tiers as I go through. So I like made the park, or noted the park, and then what project I'm working, and then a place to keep track of the stitches for that project until I get to the 4,000. And then then I'll put the next destination and whatever project that is, and keep track of the stitches for that. So then I'm doing in my Facebook group Dutch. So I put all those actually I just printed out all of that because there's a heck of a lot of destinations in there. And since you don't have to do one project, I put all the destinations, or I printed out the destinations, taped them in the book, and then I have pages to just track total stitches of no matter what project it was. So I did that. Then I made books for, well, that's, Brandy, that's what I kind of started with, and I kind of used her form, but I put them in a Midori. And then I made a separate book for like Stitcher's Retreat, because with the counter being off on Pattern Keeper, every day I write down the number, like the total number of stitches I stitched. I write that every day, and I just do the math and don't rely on the counter in here because it's not accurate. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So I made a book for each one of those. I will bring it over with me next time I do a live, or even if I record one, and show you all how I did it. I thought it would just be interesting just to keep track of okay, I'm losing my place here. Okay, just to keep track of my stitching, just for curiosity's sake. I tried to do it in a spreadsheet, and spreadsheets are fine, but I tried to use a spreadsheet last year, and I found I just didn't keep up with it. But I thought, if I'm doing it on paper, I'm more likely to keep up with it. And so far, okay, we're only 10 days into January, but so far I've kept up with it. So, oh, Andrea uses a click counter on your phone? Which app are you? Oh, the the click counter app. You can use different files to keep track. Oh, well, that's interesting. I kind of found, though, I keep better track if I'm writing it down on paper. Now, that's probably crazy because I tend to really enjoy. I'm a little out of focus here again. There it goes. I tend to really enjoy techie things. Can you tell? Okay, Karen, what did you do here? Are you still attached? Yes. Um, Ah, bump. But we'll see how it goes. Um, I just find it interesting to. So if they add a timer, that would be neat. Oh, click counter. I'm gonna have to look for that, Andrea. That sounds interesting. Just one more thing to try out. Yeah, Bunny, I'm with you. We'll see how it goes. I'm probably going to be one of those people that starts out all gung ho in the beginning of the year, but ask me in July if I'm still keeping track. That answer might be, oops, I gave up. But we shall see. Well, I don't, Joyce, I don't keep it near my stitching. I just do it at the end of the day. It's a note, it's a leather bound or a leather outside with several notebooks inside of it. And I only record at the end of the day when I'm done stitching. Like when I'm done today, I'll write down my ending stitch count in Pattern Keeper, like my total stitches stitched in Pattern Keeper. And then okay, sorry, had a park. Um, and then I'll do the math. So I don't do markers and I don't have the pen. All my stitching is away. I still have my tablet out to write my numbers down, and then, I record it in the appropriate notebook and do the math, and boom, I'm done. I also have a monthly chart where I'll list the projects I worked on that month, and just put a tick mark on the day that I worked on that project. So you can do a month at a glance. Um, I also wrote goals for the month, like, oh, well, that's a good idea too, Sue. Needlework Press's notebook, and their notebooks are nice also. That would be another way to yeah, that's another good way to keep track. Um, okay, get rid of this thread. I think I can get rid of another thread here. So I just find it interesting, and on all the different ways that people do keep track and the things they like to keep track of. Um, oh, come down there. Ooh, don't end that thread yet. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. I think my confetti craziness is over. Hallelujah. Make my day. Okay, why is Pattern Keeper being a little fluky now? It's not giving me my. Oh. Do you guys get that? Every once in a while it gets a little funny. Oh, Christine, I'm so sorry you went to all that trouble. It has to be the original PDF, unfortunately. Um, it will not. It will not read a like if you scan your chart in, it won't read that as a PDF. Even if you save it as a PDF, Pattern Keeper won't read it as a PDF. That doesn't work. I'm so sorry. Now there are some apps out there that you can use to. You won't be able to search and do all the good stuff, but you will be able to mark it off. Um, Exodio is one that comes to mind. You won't be able to use the highlight tool, but you will be able to use the line drawing tool, or it's not the highlight tool, but it looks like a squiggly line, I think. I haven't used that app for such a long time. I don't quite remember, but you will be able to draw lines through. Yeah, basic nail stamping. That's what I just did, and it did the same thing. So when that doesn't work, then I have to restart my tablet. It does it every once in a while. There we go. Yeah, sometimes it just gets a little fickle. Yeah, and now it's okay. There we go. Ha ha ha, my confetti is done. Now I get, wow, a whole bunch of stitches that are the same color with just a little bit in it. Well, Christine, the trial is the same as the bought version. They're both identical. There's nothing different. There's nothing different in the trial version or in the bought version um, that isn't in the trial version. They're both the same. It's just that the trial version will expire after. It used to be 2 weeks, but I thought I heard that she upped it to 30 days so that you can use it free for 30 days, but after 30 days, then you have to pay to continue to use it. But the version is exactly the same. It's just the fact that one you paid for and one you didn't pay for. Oh, time to stitch. Don't you love those sky colors? Aren't they amazing? It's 809 and what's the other one? 157. And then as you get down further, then it changes to lighter colors. Yeah, 809, 157, and then 554, and yeah, they're just gorgeous colors. I just love this pattern. Oh, Crafty Librarian, hello, glad you're joining us. Oh, Well, I'm glad that you find videos helpful. That's fabulous. I'm so glad that it's working for you. And just ask questions. You have questions, just ask them, and I can either talk about them and explain it when I go live, or I can do some pre-recorded videos to answer your questions. You know, anything I can help you with, that's what I'm all about and why I'm here. The Harry Potter book collage. Ooh. I have to look that. Who is that by, if I may be so curious as to ask? My daughter and my grandchildren are Harry Potter fans. Um, my grandson just turned 6, and my granddaughter will be 5 next month. And my daughter is an 8th grade language arts teacher, so she lives and breathes books. But she's reading the Harry Potter books to the kids. And they just love them. In fact, for Christmas last year, I got Abe the Lego sets of the Harry Potter. Fox and teacup designs. I'll have to look that up. That might be something I might want to stitch. Oh, just add one more to the list. What the heck? What's one more? Yeah. So, I'm running out of stuff here. And thank you for that, Crafty Librarian. I will look up Fox and Teacups designs. I never heard of them. Yeah, Bonnie, I don't know why Pattern Keeper does that every now and again. It just gets a little fickle. Sometimes I can just back out of the chart itself and reopen it, and it will fix itself. Sometimes I have to close Pattern Keeper completely and reopen it, and it will fix itself. And sometimes I just have to reboot my tablet to fix itself. Crafty Librarian, no, I do not have a video on stitching on linen, but if you would like a video on that, I will be happy to make one. That is something that I could do. It probably would not have to be a very long video because it really is pretty straightforward. It's really just stitching the same as when you stitch over 2 on an even weave, but we can do a video on that. I will put that on my a to-do list. No, Christina, you don't lose what you have entered. In fact, what I find happens, if I had something highlighted and I was marking it off, and every once in a while it gets funny where you tap all the squares to mark it off, you hit the check mark, and all your boxes go away and it doesn't mark. If I close the chart, if I back out of the chart and reopen it, I'll reopen it and they are actually highlighted. So no, you don't lose anything. Oh, okay. I will definitely do a video on stitching on linen. I'm happy to do that for you. I will put that. It is now on my list. Oh, Brandy, I switch back and forth. If I'm in an area that has a ton, if I have a ton of confetti in one area, like I just got done going through with this crazy crazy tree. That I'll do row by row. I'll stitch all of one color within a row, but that I will do row by row. Then when I'm now past it, and most of it's going to be this orangey pink color or pinky orange color. That I'll probably switch back to doing all the color within, like I'll work in 10 row segments and do all of one color in those 10 rows. Oh, that's good to know. Passion for crafting. That's good to know. You just go to the move function, wiggle it around a bit, and it unfreezes it. Oh, I'll have to remember that. When it happens again, I'm going to try that. Yeah, I don't know if this will show under the camera, Brandy, but see here, I'm getting to an area that's like, there it is, like a lot of one color. So I will do the symbols that have the least amount of symbols first, and then I'll go back and fill it in with the color with the most amount of symbols. As long as I'm in areas that are kind of like that, where I don't have a lot of color changes, like maybe, 3, 4 colors or so, then I'll do by color within 10 rows, and then park, kind of like you're stitching in columns, 10 block or 10 a block at a time down the column. It's the same principle. You stitch a block at a time down the diagonal. But this where I had every other every other stitch a different color, that I will go row by row, because it gets too confusing. Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the only way to do it. When you're in that heavy confetti area, yeah, it's too much to try and go by color, because you might only have 1 or 2 stitches in a color till you have to move on to the next. So it, yeah, doesn't work so good. At least not for me. At least not for me. Yeah, it does. It makes it really hard in confetti parts. It's craziness. But like I said, we all experiment and do what's going to work for us, and what works. Even I find what works on one chart, like what works here with Log Cabin Home, which is what we have under the camera today, might not work on Stitcher's Retreat, and it might stitch a totally different way on that. And I'll confess, I broke my diagonal on her. I'll stitch on her next time. But I did most of the second girl's hair and didn't stay within the diagonal. Yeah, there was just so much of one color in there. It was like her hair is only like maybe 3 colors, and it just made more sense to just stitch the whole thing than to stay within the diagonal. So yeah, I cheat. Every now and again I will break my own rules and cheat. But you know what? The stitching police did not come knocking on my door. I didn't see them. They were nowhere to be found, so I just kept doing what I was doing. Oh, time to stitch. I'm so glad it helps you. That's what we're here for. You saw that, Kelly? Oh, I must have posted it. Did I take a picture and post it somewhere? I forget. From one day to the next. This week, like I said, this week has been such a blur with trying to resolve my camera issues, so that I didn't have to use my phone. It was like I don't know what I did half the week. Thank God I'm retired, or oh, I wouldn't have made it. Oh, that's a neat idea. Baroque ink circle. Do it by on your diagonal. You certainly can. There's no reason you couldn't do that on the diagonal. You just mark your diagonals and oops, keep bumping here. Um, just mark your diagonals and go for it. I would think it might be easier. I would think. Had can't hurt to give it a shot, give it a try. So, well, guys, once again, I'm hitting that 2 hour mark, and my kitty cats are going to be calling to be fed. In fact, I'm surprised they're not over here hollering at me to go feed them. So I think I'm going to end this. I also hear my husband in the kitchen, so I think he's thinking maybe he's going to cook supper, which would be a nice idea. So I think what I'm going to do is call it an end here, and once again thank each and every one of you for dropping by and spending some time with me. I appreciate giving up your precious time to come visit with me. I hope you all have been stitching while you're here. It makes it fun. And for those of you that aren't, if you want to join us on uh, Zoom virtual stitching group, please do that. Um, Time does go by quickly, Jennifer. Um, it's a great place. Yes, Brandy, I plan on trying to be on this weekend, probably Saturday evening. Um, yeah, it's a fun place. We had such a good time New Year's Eve, and it's so much fun just to sit. You can see each other, you can talk in real time. It's very fun. As I said earlier, bye, Jenny. Um, if you're not on Facebook, if you message me and are a subscriber to my YouTube, I will message you back the code to get into the room. So I hope some of you can join us because it's a fun place. So I want to say thank you all again for subscribing. Uh, be sure to hit the little bell so that you know when we go live. I tend to do more live videos than pre-recorded videos at this point in time. However, I will do that video on stitching on linen. Um, and I will make that a pre-recorded one because that's just going to be easier. Um, so with that, I'm going to say goodbye for now. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And be kind to everybody. And I will see you all next time. Oh, I lost my thing here. Here we go.